The butter you buy in Canada is chemical fraud. Scientific study by researchers at the University of Guelph showed that mainstream brands deliberately add palm oil to cow feed to increase profit, completely altering butter composition. The purity you think you are eating? Poisoned with PFS in wrappers. The nutrients you think you are receiving? Degraded through prolonged storage for weeks. 5 ultra-popular brands sold on Canadian supermarket shelves use cheap techniques that sacrifice your health. In this video, discover which brands to avoid so you never eat butter that has been adulterated for money. Lactantia. It is the best-selling brand in Canada. You think that means Canadian pride quality. But it was the epicenter of the Buttergate scandal because it deliberately adds palm oil to the feed of its supplier cows. Researchers tested 17 brands and found 32 to 36% palmitic acid, compared to the historical level of only 27%. That 9% difference fundamentally alters how butter behaves at room temperature. When you put it in the refrigerator, it becomes so hard that you cannot spread it easily because the composition has been adulterated. Palmitic acid has a melting point of 63 degrees Celsius, much higher than natural fatty acids. If you put it in the refrigerator, it becomes so hard you cannot cut it with a knife. At room temperature, it remains hard for hours. It is deliberate. Palm oil costs 50% less than natural ingredients. You are paying a premium price for cheap raw material. During storage for weeks before processing, beneficial compounds, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin K2 polyphenols, begin to oxidize. Conjugated linoleic acid disappears. You are eating milk that has completely lost its nutritional value. But here is the detail that exposes everything. They launched an organic line with controlled feed without palm oil, costing much more. It means the brand knows the difference between good quality and garbage, and deliberately chooses to sell garbage to the masses. Beatrice. It is a historic Canadian brand. You think that means established quality. But it is owned by Parmalat, which deliberately adds palm oil to all its butter brands to maximize margin. It was one of the worst offenders during Buttergate, with elevated palmitic acid in multiple tested batches. While Quebec milk producers publicly asked producers to stop using palm oil, it simply ignored. It continued buying milk from farms that use palm oil because it is 40% cheaper. It stores milk for entire days before processing. Researchers discovered that lipolytic bacteria begin to degrade milk fat during storage. These bacteria consume beneficial fatty acids. Consumers report that the butter becomes soapy, a sign that fat was partially digested by bacteria. You are eating butter that was biologically adulterated before it even reached your refrigerator. It adds salts and preservatives to mask deterioration caused by prolonged storage. The label says simple butter, but it adds potassium sorbate and other additives to prevent it from becoming rancid during months in stock. You are ingesting chemicals to preserve milk that has already been degraded. The brand knows that prolonged storage degrades quality, but it saves money to maximize profit. Kirkland. It is a Costco brand. You think that being a warehouse club means superior quality, but it uses contaminated packaging with PFS, forever chemicals that never degrade in your body. Scientific studies tested Kirkland butter wrappers and found 58 parts per million of organic fluorine, a direct indicator of PFAS contamination that migrates into the butter. It deliberately uses wrappers with grease-proof coating that contains PFAS. Butter is extremely fatty. It absorbs PFAS like a sponge. The FDA admitted in 2008, that PFAS migrates from packaging to food for decades. It continues using PFAS packaging because it costs 20% less than safe alternatives. PFAS causes endocrine disruption, interferes with reproductive hormones, increases risk of infertility and cancer. It stores butter in industrial silos for months before packaging. During prolonged storage, natural fat oxidizes. Polyphenols, natural antioxidant compound, disappear. You are eating butter that has lost its protective nutrients. It masks rancidity with artificial aromas added during packaging. It hides the origin of the milk. You can never trace it because it keeps the supply chain obscure. Naturel. It is a premium brand from AgroPur. You think that because it comes from a cooperative, it means responsible quality, but it continues using palmitic acid in the feed of its supplier cows. Although AgroPur publicly asked producers to stop using palm oil in 2021, there is no proof that all suppliers stopped using it. It continues showing characteristics of hard butter, an indicator that palmitic acid is still elevated. It deliberately continues buying milk from some farms that use palm oil because it is 30% cheaper. It made a public statement to appear responsible, but internally, it continues buying cheap milk. You are paying a premium price for a brand that claims to be responsible but is not. It adds emulsifiers and stabilizers to maintain consistency during prolonged storage. Natural butter would separate, fat would divide from water. It adds potassium sorbate, lecithin, and other additives. The label says simple butter, but the brand adds 8 different additives. You are eating butter that is 50% additive. It is also distributed to Canadian schools and hospitals, meaning children are being fed adulterated butter. Minuet. It is a Loblaws brand. You think it is just a generic, but it offers acceptable quality. But it uses PFS packaging identical to Kirkland. Different batches were tested independently. Some showed 15 parts per million of PFAS, others 38. Inconsistency is absurd. You never know what level of contamination you are bringing home. It also uses palmitic acid in the feed of its supplier cows. It buys milk from the cheapest available supplier, often from the same farms that use palm oil. It offers a low price because the raw material is of inferior quality. You are buying cheap butter because quality is low. It stores milk for entire weeks in industrial silos before processing. Natural antioxidant compounds, vitamin A, vitamin E, carotenoids, degrade. You think you are eating nutrients, but they have already been removed through negligent storage. It adds multiple additives to compensate for degradation, synthetic antioxidants, emulsifiers, preservatives. The label says butter, but the brand adds 7 different additives. It comes in opaque packaging, a deliberate strategy because if you saw pale color or separated texture, you would not buy it. The butter market in Canada is broken. 5 ultra-popular brands deliberately add palm oil to cow feed to increase profit, store milk for weeks degrading nutrients, contaminate with PFAS in packaging, ADD multiple additives to mask degradation. You are eating butter that has been adulterated at 5 different points before it reaches your refrigerator. But a real alternative exists. Butter from local farms that feed cows. Fresh grass, grass that creates natural fatty acids with normal melting points. Butter from small farms that process milk immediately, within hours, not weeks. Butter in glass or paper. Packaging without PFAS. Butter without additives because fresh quality does not need preservatives. This butter costs more, but you are eating real butter. Subscribe to discover which Canadian local farms sell true butter without adulteration. Share this with Canadian family members. Information can be the difference between eating chemical garbage or real nutrition. Your choice at every meal affects your health cumulatively. Change today. Be part of the solution. Eat butter that deserves to be called butter.